Welcome to On the Bench. I am your host for this episode, Brendan Sinone. I'm joined by Chris Nee, Zach Blostein. Gentlemen, did you have a nice Halloween?
Yes.
It was Halloweeny.
What's your favorite candy? Is
Reese's.
that a played out? Reese's. That's a good one. What about Reese's with the Oreo in it? And they got to be minis.
I just like anything Reese's.
I know this is controversial, but Milky Way.
Let's just
I know it's kind of seen as mid. I just like caramel. I don't know.
What about Twix? Twix got caramel and it's got the crunch.
Yeah. But dude, you know what I tried that's so good? It's this I think it's a Reese's bar, but it has like a pretzel in it. It's like
Take Five.
Take Five, yeah.
Yeah, I like Take Fives a lot because it's like a great mix of sweet and salty.
Yeah, it's like the perfect
it's like Chris.
Sometimes
sweet and he's salty. Well, you're one or the other all the time. Your sweet though, it's really sweet. Let's get into it, guys. Florida State gets a win. Oh, there we go. Happy Halloween for the people watching on YouTube. We're a few days late. That's fine. FSU wins 42-7. It was nice. It felt good to go ahead and get a win, break the streak. No 10 game losing streak. Crisis averted there in the ACC. You beat Wake Forest 42-7 convincingly. You double them in yards per play. It wasn't pretty early on. Wake Forest shoots itself in the foot, but you capitalized. You're opportunistic, and you got better as the game went on. Sam Singleton, Deuce Robinson, there were some really high-end players. Defense showed some life. Qualifier, we don't know what that offense against Wake Forest is. It seemed pretty dinged up. I guess we do know what it is. But still, a win is a win. You're on the board. Maybe you get some momentum. Maybe you start feeling good. Let's get into it here. Chris, what was your big takeaway?
I thought they did a real good job against the ABCs, which is Robbie Ashford, the quarterback, Chris Barnes, the wide receiver, and Damon Claiborne, the running back.
Wow. Yeah. Did you come up with that?
No, well, kind of. Me and Liam were talking from Democrat. We were talking last week, and the ABC thing came up. With Ashford, took some space early in the game, but in general wasn't effective. Did not pass it well in that game. Barnes is a guy that tends to eat up chunks, and I think he had 4 for 16 in that game total. And then Claiborne obviously busted the 2 big runs, but penalties brought him back, and FSU kept him very much in check. And I think for that offense and that team really to click, Claiborne has to be the one that's going for them. And FSU did not allow that to happen. I thought that was really good. The other thing was 2 takeaways turned into 14 points for FSU, something they haven't done a whole lot of this year in the sense of getting them and creating points off of them. That played a nice role. It was a good performance. Complimentary football has been thrown around a lot. And
winning football. Yeah. That's all winning football.
Only 4 penalties too for FSU.
All that's when in Wake Forest had penalties that ended explosives or derailed explosives. And yeah, you play winning football. I thought Dickert called kind of a weird game. I thought it was super conservative. They clearly don't trust their quarterback.
I think they're always conservative. I think the thing is usually they're able to keep it kind of close and then try to play for it down a stretch, and that just didn't happen. The third quarter is where it got away from them, and it was game over. The way the first half felt, where it felt like FSU probably should be up by more than they are, or this game is really uncomfortable for what it's looked like overall, is more what I think a Wake Forest game feels like, and then that switched up in the third.
And then, Robbie Ashford was clearly not himself. I mean, he had a thumb injury going into the game, and I think it got re-aggravated in their last game where he was kind of pulled, and they played the other guy, Purdy, for most of that game. I think they trust Ashford much more when it comes to decision-making than Purdy, and it was very clear that he could not throw the ball downfield after a while. I mean, he was not helped by some drops, but he was throwing the ball in the dirt on a number of.
And he had the big knee brace on too. And
yeah,
you saw him, and there was some successful scrambles, but he wasn't able to turn it into an extra gear. So it was an outmatched Wake Forest offense, but we saw an outmatched Stanford offense move the ball in Florida State, the prior game. So the defense, I thought, played pretty well with assignments. Didn't seem like it was glaringly out of place anywhere. I know Mike Norvell and Tony White both talked about having to be a little bit cleaner in how they pass off some things still. That does seem to be a consistent talking point for them. But in general, I thought the defense played hard. It was physical. It was opportunistic. That was really good. And the offense got back on track as well. Getting Deuce Robinson's obviously a game changer. Sam Singleton has almost 100 rushing yards. He gets the start. Thought he ran decisively. A lot of just north-south stuff. I guess technically just north because he was running straight ahead. But yeah, it was, Even that doesn't make a lot of sense. Anyways, but it was schemed up well for him. He did a good job hitting the holes that were there, and then you saw some of the explosiveness, and that was nice. So there was a lot of good stuff. It feels good. A reprieve, just totally transparently, guys. Like, it's just nice to not have cover something that felt toxic for, and we get to focus on positives. And that doesn't mean that I make a choice to cover something that has negativity towards it. Yes, but it's also I can't avoid it too if it's sitting there and that's my thought on it. And this was nice just for it to feel positive, for it to be a good clean win. Wasn't your A game, but it's a win in conference play. Obviously, that's been a bugaboo for Mike Norvell. So, yeah, really good stuff there for Florida State. Before we go any further, a shout out to our sponsors, Chattanooga Whiskey. Zach had a little bit this weekend. Was it the Pinot cask finish?
Yes, it was. That's, I think, my favorite, maybe.
It's very sweet and smooth, and as good of a you had it with a cigar. I mean, that's a perfect cigar pairing whiskey. The sweet with the smoky, pretty good stuff there. Chattanooga Whiskey, check them out, crushing it in the craft distillery game. And then the Turner Group, I owe them an apology. I think I had a Freudian slip of sorts last week. I don't know. Sorry, Colin. But I'm always good for an apology. Colin and Amy Turner do an amazing job in the home buying, home selling market. They work really hard. They're Florida State fans, well connected. What are you laughing at, Chris?
I just remembered what it was.
I don't remember saying that at all.
In the moment I thought it happened, I did not want to bring it up in case I heard it wrong. But then when people brought it up, I mean,
Brett texted it on the side, and I had no idea what he was talking about. Sorry, Colin. But yeah, the Turner Group, they do a fantastic job. Home buying, home selling needs. The conversation, and I don't want to get a ton into it. I thought the X's and O's guys did a really nice job. Brett entered the studio. Brett, don't screw up. Brett. Come on, join us real quick.
Hello.
If you screw up the recording because you left and restarted,
I just went back on my tab for a second on accident. It backed in.
Is that underwear paintings behind you?
No, it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be like the thing that goes on a horse because the person that owns my apartment,
like a saddle.
Owns horses, yes, saddle. That would be the word.
A thing that goes on the horse.
Hi, Brett.
I mean, the answers were pretty simple. Was it like saddle, jockey? What else is there really? Goods?
I mean, jockey could have been underwear too.
Oh God. Okay. Anyways,
focus.
Focus. You're struggling. You're praising the X's and O's guys for doing a good job.
I thought they did a really good job. I thought of being empathetic and trying to understand the different factions of the fan base, and it's unfortunate that the fan base feels pretty divided right now. That was very clear after the game, and there's always a little bit of that, even though everyone has a level of passion and love for Florida State. There's people going to view that in different ways. Some people were distraught over a win, I would say, they just kind of want it to be over, and others are encouraged by what can you cling on to something good. I kind of see both viewpoints, if I'm being totally honest. I know that's not good radio or podcasting or YouTubing or whatever to say you understand both sides, but I do. I get it.
You're fence riding.
I would hope that leadership would do what needs to be done if it needs to be done, regardless of sort of what happens here and there. I understand people's idea of like make the poker iron as hot as humanly possible, but like I don't want to cover bad every single time out. Like I have no interest in that personally. Like just not what it is for me.
Yeah,
I think we all know where I stand with what I think should happen. But I was happy to go in there on Saturday, a day where I was unsure what I was going to get out of the product that I was going to watch. And I did pick FSU to win, but I thought they were going to win in an ugly, crappy, low 20s kind of football game instead of winning by 5 touchdowns and scoring 6 times in the red zone every single time they went in the red zone. That game played out far differently than I expected, despite the outcome being what I thought it would be, which was a W in the end. But like, I'm not typed to like hope the bottom just falls out. Like I would prefer that the evaluation is done, and being at 6 years into something, you understand what it should be, what it is, and what it isn't, and make a decision based off that. And I don't feel the need to root for a win or a loss necessarily. I'd prefer a win because it's better to cover a win, obviously. And we're living a week at a time. And like, that's just where I kind of land on it.
Yeah. I think there's nuance here that is kind of being missed by a lot of people. And like, so from what I've seen from the side of people that is upset that FSU won, I think they have a distrust in the administration and think that if Norvell and FSU do go on a run to end the season, that he could be retained.
And I get that.
Which, and then I see some people on the opposite side defending, Norvell, and bringing up how, fans aren't giving him like the benefit of the doubt. And like, it's like, I just think that we have to like really, really think about his entire tenure.
Yeah.
And it can't be a 1 year or even 2 year snapshot. Is this sustainable? Like, I think that's what, like, there just needs to be nuance there when it comes to that side of things. And the other side, like, here's where I'm at. Like, I don't think that FSU is in a huge rush to make this decision. If they were, they would have fired him after Stanford.
I think that's clear.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's pretty well established.
Yeah. So I think that, I'm not telling people how to feel, but at least for me, like, if they win, then like I don't think there's a reason to get, up in arms about it, right? Like your favorite team won. And I think if you're in the camp of you don't think this show should go on after this year, then I guess you have trust that this administration is going to look at the entire tenure of Mike Norvell when, making their evaluation on whether to keep him or not. Because if not, then, I mean, what are we doing here? Like that is ultimately their job.
I knew that's exactly what you're going to say is what are we doing here?
That's where I'm at. Like,
I don't think they're teetering and tottering with like each outcome as much as, no, don't get me wrong.
You said that we're week to week.
Doors blown off type of outcome, I think would influence the decision.
I think if you lose to Wake at home, there's a lot of pressure.
Winning out might influence a decision. Yes. Like, I'm not dismissing those two kind of ideas and concepts. I don't think beating Wake changes anything. I think beating Wake was simply winning a game this week and then moving the ball along to Clemson and seeing where that takes you and living a week at a time. I'm in the living a week at a time status currently, and I'm comfortable with that. I hope FSU goes to Clemson and wins again. 2 in a row at Clemson would be swell. If they don't, they don't. Congrats, Clemson. You're damn near 500 again. Like, I struggle with the concept of like, I want them to lose because it will definitely bring change. I'm of the opinion change should probably come regardless of wins or losses down the stretch, because again, it should be a 6-year evaluation. It should be the last 2 years evaluation. It should be a what do you think they'll be in 2026 kind of evaluation. To me, it's not because you beat this team or you lost to this team. It's because of the ups and the downs, the peaks and the valleys, the uncertainty of what the heck you're getting week to week with the football team, and the idea of what you're building to have year-over-year sustainability and how you're going about doing that process. It's all of those things. To me, it's not we beat Wake or we lost to Wake.
Yeah, I agree. And that's an important part to bring in is the recruiting stuff. Like, it cannot just be, oh, well, he went 2-10 and then, he had this miraculous finish to the season. Like, there are still recruiting issues. Like,
real quick, we'll get into recruiting, but like I really want to bring this point up because I've seen it. It's the one thing that has bothered me consistently in terms of like a fan narrative that started is that better than last year? I've seen that a lot. Like we can't.
Well, yeah, one would hope it would be better than last year. I mean, 2-10 is about as bad as it gets.
Right. That's not. We can't. It goes to your point of we have to judge it in its entirety of what this total regime has been, and like
2-10 takes a determination of having to repeating that again would take the determination of anything and everything you do completely off the table. Like that's a simplistic decision at the end of the day.
My viewpoint from the beginning of the season, I don't remember what episode, but I remember talking about this and feeling passionately about it, is that like 8 wins still isn't the standard at Florida State. Like, don't allow, and I think it was 8 wins specifically is what I talked.
You guys talked a lot about in the group one where it was you guys and people from other outlets and stuff. I mean, that was a common topic about that and the longevity of the program.
And so that is still something like, I think it's interesting just for the context of what we do professionally. It's going to be interesting if they go to Clemson this week and win. And then all of a sudden on the table is like those final 3 games. NC State has very much so a pulse to just beat Georgia Tech. Florida still plays hard. Virginia Tech seems winnable, but like if you go into those final few games, like what do you do at the end of the season if they somehow find a way to win out? And I know, Chris, your point I think is well taken that a singular game shouldn't be flipping people's minds one way or the other. That seems like a really difficult way to live emotionally. I could not imagine that the administration is basing things off of a win, but a singular win or loss, unless it's just a program defining one kind of.
It needs to be cumulative. At the end of the day, like, it has to be cumulative. You have to sit down and write down a list of what allows a program to have, one, immediate success, and two, sustainable success. And is FSU doing things to achieve those feats? If the answer is yes, then you stick with it. If the answer is no, then you change it, because
and that's where it would be interesting. We're 100% jumping ahead of ourselves here. But if you somehow won 5 games in a row to end the season after a 4-game skid, and then a 3-game winning streak before that, that included a win over Alabama that very much so looks like a playoff team right now, if not a top 4 seed. How do you contextualize?
Here's it's not apples to apples in both directions, but it kind of reminds me of what happened with Billy Napier last year,
where you exceeded the expectation is what the schedule was.
Well, execution.
Yeah, well, the AD there put out a vote of confidence. I know that it's not the exact same thing that Alfred said, but he put out a statement in the middle of the season after they had a rough start, and then he goes on a run. But here's my issue with making that comparison, which I hope is not actually being talked about, is like Billy Napier had a 5. Like, I know it didn't end up working out, and maybe this is a cautionary tale as well, but like, he had a much more talented roster than Florida State has assembled, top to bottom. He is bringing in top 10 level recruiting classes. He had a 5-star quarterback who was emerging in the latter portion of that season. He had multiple high-end players on both sides of the ball that were emerging, that were young. Like, they had built a young roster, so there was optimism for like what that could look like the year after. Like, and I could be like, okay, like I can see the growth. And then quickly, like, FSU's situation is just not very comparable, because this is a patchwork roster for the most part. Like, there's not going to be a lot of continuity between this season and next season. So it's not like you can be like, oh, well, we're rolling it back. We're running it back next year with the same crew. It's like, you're going to replace your entire offensive line. You're going to have to find a whole new, most likely a whole new defensive front. And then, a number of high-end players like, Juice Robinson might go pro.
Go pro, probably.
Yeah. So to me, it's like, you can't even make that comparison. But it does remind me of that in a little, like, in some ways. And obviously we're getting ahead of ourselves, because like, I think all of us agree that we don't believe they're going to go on a run.
I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen.
It is the hardest team in the country to predict.
To your point, Zach, on Florida last year, I think one significant difference between what we're doing with currently and what they did last year is when they made that decision, they kind of adamantly made it, and they, instead of worrying about the money to fire him, they invested that money into recruiting, and it showed down the stretch for what they did results-wise. There hasn't been that kind of shift at FSU, in my opinion, where we've seen, like, instead of worrying about firing him and the immense cost that comes with it, that's been covered well, which FSU can pay, for the record. They don't want to pay. Those are two different things.
Yeah.
Florida did also do it against a pretty strong slate at the end of the year. This would be, feel kind of tepid. It's like, it's Clemson's on the ropes, where they have 3 wins right now, and Dabo's losing his mind. NC State, while showing fight, like, their defense, like, you're not talking about complete teams, top 25 caliber teams.
Multiple interim coaches, like.
But we are getting ahead of ourselves. But it is interesting. It's probably one of the most interesting things remaining on the table to me, because that does exist. I have learned, like Mike Norvell has examples in his coaching career where they will go on long winning streaks, and where they will tear off games, and even when their back's against the wall, they will fight and scrap. And that is the one thing that I think is super important to take away, or at least maybe important, not super important. I digress. Wake Forest game, the team did play hard, right? And that was very much so
In question.
There were players who were questioning, where this thing was going. That's factual. I thought the first quarter or so, you were kind of bracing yourself as a team, almost kind of waiting for the worst to happen. And when it didn't, and you survived it, and I remember thinking they went up 14-0 at halftime. I was like, you're kind of fortunate right now. Wake Forest, the yards weren't totally different. The yard per play wasn't giantly different, but you weathered the early explosives from Wake Forest, and then Wake has a chance to go ahead on its first drive of the third quarter. They're in the red zone. The fumble, you pick it up. Wake had 6 fumbles, and you picked up 1, which is just, it should be a 50-50 type of thing. The season has not been 50-50 for Florida State. I would love, it's tough. Every metric I try, like, there's not a good place that actually tracks that consistently. All the numbers are slightly different. But I would love to know in the last decade what FSU's fumble recovery luck is. It does not feel 50. But Wake shot itself in the foot. You did not. And it brings up the larger question of, like, okay, did you get the momentum, the belief, the confidence, whatever it is, however you want to describe it, could you have harnessed that and found it? Because the one other thing I will say in a big picture standpoint, and diving through some numbers, I'm going to post something on it and those 24/7 later. It's like the record doesn't reflect FSU is a better team than the record. Now,
yeah, that's why FPI and other metrics like that have FSU. And I don't like FPI personally, but like there's a reason FPI has FSU really high because it's overrating FSU's victory over Alabama.
And there's
an element of FSU is not when FSU plays to a decent level of their capability, they are a good to competitive to decent football team. The issue is things like Stanford happened.
Yeah, and that's
Miami, which was for the most part a blowout.
And Alabama happened. It's like, so those right. are on the table, and that points to a larger picture of, like, when you're bringing up, Chris, the consistency, the ups and downs, the peaks and valleys, and I know Mike Norvell has said some of that is college football currently. I agree with that to an extent, but you are painting outside the lines as a program too.
Virginia feels like what college football is now. The Virginia loss, where basically it was a coin flip, win or lose.
Virginia football feels like college football.
They do. Like, my God, like, win luck for them. They're 3-0 in games where they easily could have beat 0-3.
And in previous years, it's been different than that.
Right.
But so, like, I won't get into the numbers, but, like, I like yards per play as a number. I think that's generally better, or as a stat. I think that's generally a better entry point stat than yards per game, points per game, because it does account somewhat for just a down efficiency. It doesn't account for other things. But you're in the, like, 70th to 75th percentile on offense and defense as a P4 team against P4 teams. So that's not cherry picking stats. That's you against your peers compared to other teams against their peers in your same weight class. In EPA, which is expected points added per play, you're in the top 60. You're in the 65th percentile or better on offense and defense. So you are an above average Power 4 program by these numbers, but your record shows you're below average, and that is where we then, like, okay, so you're now at a point where your roster is above average to good. I think agree, right? Factually, your record is not, and so is that a encouraging thing or is it discouraging? I can understand both viewpoints there. Again, I'm going
me in year 6, it's discouraging.
Okay,
you're expecting a level of, like, more balance versus peaks, valleys, and that's what we've lived through this year.
Yeah, I think there's, like, I think the Virginia loss, some of the Pitt game, like, I felt like they got bad officiating in some points. Like, and Pitt seems to be a pretty good team. But, like, when we look back at this season, I don't think Norvell's going to be able to get over the Stanford loss. Like, when it comes to, like,
unforgivable sin.
Yeah. And it wasn't, that did not feel like luck. Like, they played a horrible game. Everyone
they were emotionally unengaged in that game. Some people use the word quit. I didn't really think they quit. I just think they were very emotionally invested.
I don't think they ever started until it was too late.
Like, they second quarter of that game, watching it from the press box, watching that sideline, they just looked like they thought they were going to either be A, in a dogfight, or B, lose. And it was just weird to me. Like, that Stanford team, 3 players on that team were worth a damn: Tab, Roush, and Rose. And like, it blew my mind watching it that FSU just felt like they had no oomph to it. Like Pitt, whatever, empty space, quarterback torched you, bad day. Virginia shootout, you lost in overtime. Miami, pretty good team. Plus, we know Miami gets up and then craps the bed after they play FSU.
Let's talk about that. That was
And like, I get those. Like Stanford was just like, it's like they thought they were gonna lose and from the get go, and that's just it was crazy to me. Like I didn't quit, to me, is loafing and like non-pursuit and stuff like that. I didn't feel like I saw that in the Stanford game. In the Stanford game, I just felt like I saw a team that did not understand how to get themselves revved up to try to play a competitive football game. I don't know. It was weird as hell to watch. It was ultra disappointing, and to me, it was sort of a final nail in the coffin.
I talked to someone in the building who said that they had a lot of loafs in that game, so that's why I had the opinion that I thought
There was a boatload of screw ups.
Yeah, I didn't think the entire, like, I don't think it was like a team wide thing, but I think
it never is when we talk about this stuff.
Yeah,
for people, I think people like Zach reporting that a player said that, like, that's a player's opinion, that the team, that's one person's opinion. That still matters, but it doesn't speak for the entire locker room.
I think, I just don't know how you get that performance without someone. I don't think you get that performance against Stanford without someone, or without players loafing or quitting. Like, it's almost like
we don't have it was a shitty performance, and they didn't play as hard as they should.
Yeah, but the point is,
I have no issue with people saying they quit. I did not personally think they quit.
Yeah,
is all I'm saying there. I thought they looked. I think I texted in the group at the start of the second half after the stretch. Terrence Knighton is literally trying to like rev up every guy, dapping them up, talking to them, just making that effort. And I don't feel like that's normal with T Knight. Like he's not that usually when I'm watching him on the sideline. I thought there was an extra amount of effort being put in, for example, by him. It just didn't work. And then you have the emotional outbursts of Edwin Joseph, and hat tip to him for owning that and acting like the mature young man they say he's developing into, which I appreciate. It was messy. It was ugly. It speaks to the inconsistency of knowing what the product's going to be on a week-to-week basis.
We're talking too much about Stanford when they just.
You're right.
People are gonna.
Sorry, you're correct. My bad.
That's okay. That's all right. It's all part of the picture that we're trying to weigh here.
I think the issue is that's a tough one for people to mentally
get over. I agree. I agree with what you guys are saying on that. I don't think that's anything controversial. But we are trying to push forward and see, is there a chance for you to start performing to your talent level, to your caliber again. I thought Tommy Castellanos was good with the deep stuff. It does help when you have Deuce Robinson. Just do what Deuce Robinson does. Awesome. That was some of their blue chip evaluations weren't great in the transfer portal this cycle. That was a great one. That's worked out splendidly for you. He's a really good player. Plays hard, but then obviously has the athleticism to make like the left-handed catch. The first catch he had, I didn't know that he came down with it. Was that the first? Was Zach going to actually watch the game from the stands?
About one around the back?
No, that one we saw. I thought there was another one where my eyes went off of it. Maybe it was that. I don't know.
Danzy's catch was also excellent, just in the sense of timing, nailing the play, and everything coming together.
And that was Tommy ripping it. Like, that was a really good throw. You could tell in real time that was going to have a really good chance to.
Pittman's play was my personal favorite of the whole game.
Would like to see that Wildcat package a little bit more with him. That's fun.
Dude, he's
a determined individual.
He's a football player, man.
He is a football player. Defensively, like, it was good to see James Williams get in there and get a sack.
Yeah.
Like, you do wonder what that can do for him for confidence, and I know that's something that's bothered him. We'll talk to T Knight today. Obviously, they have a close relationship. I'm curious, like, if how much that's been weighing on James, and if he was pressing. I think Tony White used the word pressing the other day. That seemed clear. But to get him, Jaden Jones did some decent things. That great
start for it too.
Jenkins was not great for me, but he at least got to the quarterback still a few times to force him to move in the pocket. So, like, okay. Yep, maybe you're seeing something from the defensive ends waking up. Maybe it was against a really bad Wake Forest offensive line. I think we get further data points to see if you've turned the corner or not moving forward. It was it felt good to step away from toxicity for a week, and now you go to Clemson. We'll talk about the trip to Death Valley later in the week, but Clemson's very much so on the ropes. Dabo Swinney seems like he's losing it a little bit, both in the program and just he's not having fun right now. And so this is a big game for both teams, right? And how they're going to be viewed, and this one matters as much as it can for two mediocre ACC teams.
Yeah, it's going to be top tier sideline watching.
Oh yeah, definitely. I got my binocs I'm bringing up there. I will say some of Clemson's stuff and the EPA and yard per play stuff, they're better than the record would indicate. But again,
their passing game's been really good. Their passing defense has been really bad. They're a weird team. I've been working through the 247 running it today, and just and also having watched them, I think 4 or 5 times now in the season. I watched the Duke game finally yesterday, in between my enjoyable day that was. They're weird. I don't know. They could easily, that record could easily be flipped to 5-3. They've got warts, they've got some issues, but they're also not awful.
Yeah, I mean,
but they are busting at the seams. They are Dabo looks like he's about ready to just. I mean, Dabo's had some of those moments in his career, tantrums, flip outs, whatever you want to term them as. It feels like they're bubbling up very rapidly with him. The penalty in that game was a bad penalty, and I actually kind of appreciate him just going all in on it. He got fined. He got fined for it, but I'm good with that. I'd prefer.
The refs are the only one in the sport that don't have to be accountable for their mistake.
And it was a horrible penalty. I mean, it's up there with the Wake Forest Georgia Tech game where that penalty was flipping awful. But man, Clemson is wild to watch them, and just how the crazy thing to me about Clemson is that the defense is not consistently better than it should be.
Clemson, you always
talent on that side of the ball for them is pretty good.
You expect the Clemson defense to be good year in, year out. That's one thing that's always been a given.
You got Brown and Woodass at backer who do what they do at Clemson with linebackers, making a boatload of tackles, things being funneled to them. You got guys like Helt, Parker, Woods up front, who you would think would be ultra impactful.
And you got to save this for the Thursday show.
It's crazy to me that they're
him just shouting out Brown Woodass without context. That's wild.
AB and Terrell in a second. They've got Ricardo Jones has 3 picks for them. Hey, blast them to pass for you there, Zach.
Yeah. No, my thing with Clemson, and we can get more into it on Thursday.
Yeah,
I just think that it's very obvious that because they don't patchwork with the transfer portal, they just have glaring weaknesses because if they miss on a high school kid, it's like the old days. You miss on a high school kid, you're screwed. So yeah, I mean, they do not have Clemson quality players, especially in the back half of their defense.
Yeah, they're also offensive lines also had some patchwork stuff where they've been banged up.
Stop. Moving on from Clemson. Right. Moving on from Clemson.
I'm really excited for the matchup of two teams where it's sort of like, what the hell are we going to get today?
The battle midway.
Mid-off.
The OTB thread in which I said we're going to record on Tuesday instead of Monday because of some travel stuff. There's things happening, and then more things kept happening. Anyways, yielded some good fodder from the fan base here. Or from our listenership, readership, fans of us, fans of Florida State, our subscribers, our listeners.
You keep this up, I'm going to talk about Clemson.
Yeah. I Smoke Weed asks, by or Sonone, sponsored by
the Turner Group.
Was Chris Nee with the group of guys waving their shirts over their heads during the game?
No, yes. I can't move that fast to get from the press box over there, but I did consider it.
That was pretty funny.
The amount
I Smoke Weed just wants me to have beef with him on the podcast, so he's trying to poke. I get what he's doing
a little bit.
Yeah, he wants to be the new Hubster.
Come on, Hubster.
The amount of time they were waving their shirts, I thought, was the most impressive thing.
I enjoyed watching people migrate there like ants.
Yeah, Aaron Cabrera said it was on Twitter. Said it was like an ant colony.
It was wild to watch. Like people moving along sections, like the base of the stadium, like 4 guys going together and then hustling up there. It was fun to watch.
It was fun to look down and see Tommy Castellanos and others do it. Like again, it felt good. It felt good for a little.
Game after them having no energy, that was a moment of provided energy by the crowd that they responded. I'll take it.
I saw some people trying to start the wave when I was in the stands. I did not love that. Still not a fan of it.
Wave hater.
Yeah, Chris was not there. I would have loved to have seen Chris in there. All right, so
That
this is from I'm sorry, dude. I always every time send me a message to remind me of how it's pronounced. R Castro Tycho. Buy or Sonone, sponsored by
The Turner Group.
group.
Why are you so negative there? Sorry, Colin. Repurposing the lesser quality Halloween candy, Almond Joy, those generic ones in the strawberry wrapping that no one ever wants, blah, 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 to be used for goodie bags that you'll give out at your kid's birthday. So buy or Sonone that as a practice.
Sonone. The kids give the Almond Joys to the mother-in-law because she likes them, which I just don't get Almond Joys. Yeah, no, I'm not repurposing the candy. Sorry, Sonone.
So no,
That's wild.
Yeah.
Almond Joys, I don't love them. I don't mind coconut with chocolate. I think it's nice.
I think that means like you're old.
Do you like a coconut donut?
No.
Okay.
But that's a commitment. You're committing to 600 calories and a little mini.
I was gonna think less of you if you did, so I'm proud of you.
No, I don't want it as the whole feature, but if I'm getting into 6 pieces of Halloween candy and one of them being a coconut one, I'm fine with.
I absolutely love donuts, but you put a coconut donut on me, and I'm gonna run fast. I will be over there waving my shirt. Okay.
I don't think I have anything else. Hey, real quick, Chris, hoops starts today.
Yeah, women played last night versus fam. Men play tonight. They tip off against Alcorn State. The mighty Alcorn State is led by Jake Morton, former FSU assistant coach last year.
That's pretty cool. Real quick, Zach, what is Alcorn State's mascot?
The walnuts.
I did think for the longest time they were the Acorn. I thought it was Acorn State. I did not read it correctly when I was a kid, when it was in the old NCAA football game.
I feel like that is that's an easy thing to mess up.
What is it, Chris?
Aren't they the Braves, I believe?
I assumed you would know.
I haven't yet put together the official preview, but I believe they are the Braves.
They're the Braves.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a lame name. Should be.
Well, good job pissing off the Atlanta Braves segment of the fan base.
I'm just saying for Alcorn State, come up with something a little bit more creative, I feel like.
But yeah, the men tip off tonight. They get going. Yeah, they're out of non-conference schedule. It's got 5 biggies on it, led by Houston and Florida, 2 teams that were in the Final Four. They go to Houston. They play at Florida. The game at Houston is technically neutral site, but it's in Houston. It's going to be fun. It's going to be entertaining. I'm not in a rush to predict a record, but go 500 in conference. That's 9 losses there. 5 really tough non-conference games. Let's go 2 and 3 there. That's 12 losses there. So that's what you're speaking about, kind of how I view it going in. What Luke Laux wanted with the schedule, though, was ultra competitive. He wants his team to be tested. I think he is comfortable with them going to a game like Houston and sort of getting the doors blown off. Not in the sense of that's what he wants, but there's an element of his team will learn from that and be better when the ACC schedule rolls around. I think there's an element of he believes in that. When they're shooting well, they can play with anybody. When they're not shooting well, they're going to have to learn how to gut it out sometimes, and that will be interesting. Yeah, we saw him in 2 exhibitions. Bama was a competitive one, and Bama's a good team. I think Bama's a Sweet 16 quality basketball team, and FAMU FSU handled pretty easily with some really good stretches, 12 to 4 minutes in the first half, and then some really bad stretches the last 4 minutes of that first half, for example. But they'll be fun. They'll be enjoyable. Mm-hmm. There's enough talent in that group. I think they've done a good job for a group that got here in March of assembling a roster where it only returns 3 guys from last year, including only 2 guys that were technically scholarship guys last year. Yeah, I hope the fan support's there. I think it will be an entertaining product. They're going to shoot a lot of threes. They're going to try to get to the line. They're going to try to play defense that creates offense. That's sort of the MO of what they're going to try to be. Yeah, we'll get a feel for them. They've got a couple warm-ups out of the gate, but Florida is a week away. It's next Tuesday.
All right. I'm actually excited to see what happens there with hoops. I think it'll be fun and potentially a fun product with the potential to get a lot better. I think that's kind of the big thing there. All right. I think that's everything, guys. We good? Oh, no, wait. They got 2 commitments. Let's talk about that real quick. I'm sorry. I almost forgot.
Don't skip out on my recruiting.
Yes. That's one of the big reasons why we waited for today was so Zach could talk recruiting. So FSU gets 2 commitments from defensive players. One is local prospect Dalen Green, a linebacker, and the other one is Atlanta-ish area defensive end Chris Carbon. Let's talk about the 2, Zachary.
Yeah, so Dalen Green is a guy that Florida State had a silent commitment from over the summer, or whatever that's worth. But then a few
Not
days
much.
later, he goes and takes an OV to Arkansas and commits to Arkansas. Both sides kind of went their separate ways after that. But after Sam Pittman got fired at Arkansas this season, he expressed interest in Florida State again, and FSU, evaluated his senior film, talked to him in person. He came over to the facility a few weeks ago for a practice and spoke to Mike Norvell, and I think they had a serious conversation, because I don't think Norvell loved the way his recruitment played out the first time around. So I think after that conversation, Norvell and FSU were cool with taking him back into their class, and he took an OV over the weekend and flipped the day after he departed. So yeah, he's a Gadsden County product. I think you can speak to his game a little bit more, Brendan. I'll kick it to you after I speak about Chris Carbon's recruitment. But yeah, so the 3-star edge rusher, Chris Carbon, out of Powder Springs, Georgia. He's a guy that FSU was basically, after the June official visit window, they missed on a number of their edge rusher targets. So Carbon was a guy that they offered. He was at that point committed to Georgia Tech. FSU hosted him for the Alabama game, and they had generated some momentum there. He then decommitted from Georgia Tech a few weeks ago and took an OV to FSU surrounding their game against Pitt. Even though FSU lost that game, he came away. He told Chris after the visit that FSU was his number one school. Things, went back and forth over the last 2 weeks, but ultimately on Sunday morning, I believe, he ended up committing to FSU, and it's, it becomes their first edge rusher commit. They have 4 other defensive linemen committed, but all are expected to play on the interior, the next level.
Do we want to talk about? I can go over their games real quick if that's something people are interested in. But
okay, yeah, do that. I'll help you prompt this up. Dalen Green, best quality is.
Can I say upside? Is that a?
I think it's physicality. He's a very willing and aggressive hitter.
He is a big hitter. I don't know how much I care about that as a linebacker. Like you have to be able to hit, obviously, but that is a plus. He is a big hitter. His length is crazy. He has really long arms, and he's a reclass guy, so he's young and still developing. You look at his physical. This is why I talk about his upside. His physical development has been pretty rapid in a short period of time, and he's still young at his class. So that's a guy who's upwardly mobile, I think, as a prospect.
What is your biggest concern with him?
You mentioned the physicality, and it shows up. Some of the movement stuff and how he attacks the ball carrier is inconsistent. Like there's some reps where he really closes in and is quick trigger and twitchy, and there's others where he looks kind of plodding. Even some of his more impactful plays, it just doesn't look explosive. And so I don't know if that's someone still kind of growing into their body, or if that's just who he is. He is a really high variance guy. I think he's a power 4 level player, but he didn't capture my imagination. Like I've been scouting 6 players this offseason and into the season, and linebackers is one of the groups I focused on pretty regularly the last few weeks, and he kind of fits in the mold of like high-end guys I'm watching at that level of what I think. But again, the room for him to get better exists because he is so young and he has grown so much in a year.
So on his senior highlights, if you watch, I think it's about 2.5 minutes towards the end, there's a play where he pursues the quarterback to the outside and does a really good job with that. But you are right. There are times where he does not look as clean, angularly. With regards to pursuit. I just wonder how he is in coverage. There's not a ton of that on that film.
When I don't see
maybe if I
something
dive
on
into
film,
younger
I
film.
assume they can't do it and that they're hiding it on the highlights. I could be wrong. That is a
Yeah, that's always a concern. Or is it system where they're just not asking him to do it? They want him to be a downhill player, an aggressive player, because he does a lot of that in the film.
Mhm.
There's a few instances of him getting to the flat and cleaning guys up, but there's not a lot of him like going across the middle.
He is a
like,
converted safety, so you think he has some of that. But yeah, it just I want to get Zach's thoughts like on the process of we're talking about a guy that at least for me and Chris, lukewarm is how I feel about it. Like I don't dislike the take. I don't love the take. I think it's fine. But when you bring in the caveat of he's someone who spurns you as well, I know they talked about it. Like that's the part of it I don't necessarily.
Yeah, I mean, I just look at the situation they're in. Like, I agree that they probably didn't need to go this route, but like they also like what other options do they have?
And who's a South Florida kid that's visiting Tech, who just visited
Ron
Tech.
Maycock.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of comes back to high school recruiting yet again, and the process would show that you're kind of having to move down your board a decent amount, which necessarily isn't a good thing. And in fact, it's generally not a good thing.
They try to recruit that Jacob Curry kid who committed to Oklahoma, and they had an OB set with him, but he committed to OU before he ever made it on that OB. That was their priority.
The Pontevedra needs former safety who became a linebacker, redheaded kid.
Yeah.
And Chris Carbon, like I think fairly high floor. He's powerful as a run stopper. There's some explosiveness to him. Not a whole lot of bend. The length is kind of average to below average. The production is fine. It's not remarkable. I don't know. It feels like okay, solid. Plays at a really good defense. Neither one of these captured my imagination and got the juices flowing for like what they could be. I don't know, but
yeah. I mean, they're going after some other exciting prospects. I want to talk about that real quick. Like I think we all think that running back Quantavious Wiggins, aka Fat Boy, that's his nickname. I'm not calling him fat. He is a really good prospect for like what FSU's options are.
He kind of reminds me, honestly, he reminds me of what Sam Singleton was going to be like with some of his junior year stuff projected as. But then he had the hamstring injury that was recurring. But kind of the same
track speed guy.
Yeah, just the running style and how he accelerates, deaccelerates. A lot of it's straight ahead. But I watched him. And I remember kind of thinking, that seems like a type for them.
Yeah, he's definitely got that. Like the acceleration deceleration thing is very impressive with Wiggins. And he took an OB to FSU over the weekend real quick and came out of that visit saying that FSU had a pretty high chance of flipping him from FIU. I obviously don't think he's going to end up at FIU, but there are other P4 schools involved, including Wisconsin, Cincinnati, and Auburn. I think Wisconsin's kind of the main other threat right now. They're supposed to get him on campus this weekend.
Have we talked about it before? I don't think so. Wisconsin kind of stuffed him in a locker last cycle.
Yeah, no, every recruitment I covered, I felt like with Wisconsin involved last year. I was talking to a Wisconsin guy the other day. I'm like, he was asking me what I thought about Quantavious Wiggins. I'm like, I think FSU has a really good shot to flip him, but you know how these go when it's FSU and Wisconsin because the quarterback Carter Smith and then the DN Nick Clayton. Those were the two recruitments.
And then there was a transfer, I think, as well, who they offered or started to go after and went to Wisconsin instead.
Georgia has kept Wiggins slightly warm. Did he mention them at all in the exit? No. He did go there, I believe. I want to say the game before their bye week before UF. I believe he was on campus at UGA for an unofficial.
They also didn't they bring in Ty Cummings or was that Alabama? Someone else that's a South Georgia kid.
Somebody did bring Ty Cummings in. I forget who it was. I'm not as invested on that one since FSU hasn't been invested on that one.
Yeah,
similar. I think it was Georgia too. It was similar caliber player, different styles. But
it feels like Georgia's trying to find somebody to pair with Jay Lamar potentially, but like they're not adamantly committed to doing that currently from a numbers standpoint.
Yeah, I think all three of us, we watched his highlights when they got on board, and Zach mentioned him a few weeks ago and kind of perked up a little bit. He looks well above his weight class currently.
And I think he's an 89 grade on 24/7 Sports, so
That
almost
seems-
a 4-star prospect.
That seems about right.
And the other official visitor of the weekend was Demod Lewis, a 3-star defensive lineman out of Charlotte, North Carolina. He's another guy that FSU offered back in July when they expanded the board. I think he's an edge rusher for them. I have not watched his film personally, so I can't really speak to his game, but he is a guy that is being pursued by Nebraska, FSU, NC State, and a few other schools. I think Texas is talking to him. So there's some other competition there. I think FSU sits in a pretty good spot, but it also depends. I mean, for the VTech game in 2 weeks, they're also bringing in a number of edge rushers that I think they could feel equally as good about. So we'll see kind of where that goes. I think they'll probably add one more edge rusher to the class. They've got 3 or 4 other options to fill that spot.
You should get bored, Zach, and watch his junior film when he was at, I think it's Ballantyne High School or Ballantyne Ridge High down there. He changed schools before this season. He plays a little receiver in that video.
Okay. I like that.
His film makes him look longer than I felt he looked in person. And he has some nice athleticism and some decent arm length to him. Doesn't it's not bad film, but it's also not like grab your attention exploding kind of film.
He's from North Carolina?
Yeah, he's a North Carolina kid. His brother's in the NFL, I believe.
Damian Lewis.
Damian Lewis played at LSU 2019-ish.
He was on the national championship team.
Running back?
I think linebacker.
Lineman, I thought.
Yeah, anyways.
Lewis
North Carolina's a weird
I
state.
believe. Now, let me see.
North Carolina's a weird state.
He was an offensive lineman.
Like the week to week. Then I was thinking the wrong guy, obviously. The game to game stuff's really weird there. It's like you can go against a really high end opponent one week, and then you're getting like a small private school the next. I think that's pretty consistent. All right, let's get out of here. You guys done?
Yeah, sure.
I'm done.
I got to play you in college football 26.
It's going to cut it close. All right, let's get out of here. For Zach Blostein, Chris Nee, I'm Brendan Sinone. Thanks, Brett, for editing. We'll talk to you guys next time. Bye.